Okay, I'm going to try and show y'all how I use acrylic paint in my stamps for when I sometimes do backgrounds that are not stamped with ink, but actually are done with paint. And I'm using a styrofoam tray, putting the colors of paint into the tray. Normally, of course, I would do this one thing at a time, but just to try to save some time on showing it, I'm going to put it all out there at one time. Okay, so once it's in the tray, I take a paintbrush, and this can depend on the stamp that I'm using. For this particular stamp here, I take a paintbrush. I'm using this stamp. It's from a Stamps by Judith. It's an old one that I've had for years, and it was just a little background dotting stamp. So with the paint that I pull out, see, it will load right exactly where I want it on the stamp, and it doesn't get all over the place from trying to stamp it into the thick wad of paint or even trying to put it on there with a brush. So that little thin layer of paint, and on the firm surface of the little styrofoam tray, it's similar to if I was inking this up on a stamp pad. And then I just rub it on. I've got a piece of dampened t-shirt fabric over here, and then I just rub it on there, and it comes right off. Now, if I was using an unmounted stamp and I was doing a bunch of stuff, then I would probably have a little bowl of water and toss the stamp into the water so that I could continue on with what I was doing and didn't have to clean it. But since that little wood-mounted one, it just cleaned right up. Okay, so to show you on a wood-mounted, this is an old Stampin' Up! Background stamp that I've had for years and that I love because of the dot pattern. I'm going to use one of these little makeup wedge sponges. And it's the same premise as far as I load the paint very thinly on the flat end of the sponge. Then I carefully just dab up and down, and then I can stamp my paint color. So I like to use both of these stamps, whether it's this one or this one, to create little snowy backgrounds sometimes when I'm doing winter theme projects. So here I've used a white, and here this is just a blue color. I'm not sure what it's called. Oh, Indian turquoise. I just think it makes a pretty snowy background. And you have to load your paint each time on the stamp when you go to stamp it. And then same thing. Rub it until it comes off. If you have any little residual residue, you can take, if I was sitting here at my table to do this, where is my, I did have a toothbrush up here, and I'm not sure what happened to it. So I've just got a little stiff brush, and I'll rub that water around, and then it all comes off perfectly clean. So that's just another way of using it with the wood-mounted stamps. Now here is an actual unmounted stamp that's just stuck using double stick tape onto a little clear block. And you can get extra life out of your makeup wedges if you clean them right away in between colors. I try to keep a little thing of water that I rinse brushes and stuff in on my table, so that I can clean the sponge well enough that then I can go into another color. And make sure I don't have any excess left in that one. Okay, this is some gold metallic. And I'm going to load it the same way, just pulling out a little flat area of the paint. Load the end of the makeup wedge, and then just dab. This is a crackle finish looking stamp. And place it down and press. And then there's my gold metallic crackle. So you can see you can get like so many different effects. The nice thing about using the paint versus some of the inks, number one, it's going to be permanent. So once you've stamped it, you can then watercolor over it or whatever, and you don't have to worry about it running or interfering. And then you can also do a lot of layering on top of it. It's especially, these colors just really pop off of the black, but then you can also use them whether you're doing it on white. It looks just as good, especially if you have stamped a random image on the background. Then you can go over that with the gold, and your gold will then stand off of whatever you've got under that surface. Clean that one real good right quick, just so I don't have any issues with it. So hopefully that helped some, and let's see if I can do a few of these in the blue. But this little random dot pattern, you can get such pretty little effects from it. I've had this stamp for so many years, and I absolutely love it, and I use it on all sorts of projects, which is what I did to the initial background here. Then I went back and I thinned some of the white. Let me see if I can show you how I thin the white, and then do some larger spatters by just tapping. It's just I think it's a number 1 or number 2 round. I'm not sure. I've had this brush forever, and I like it because it's the white nylon bristles, and there's just something about the way they hold the water in the paint. And you can see I got bigger droplets, smaller droplets, and you can do this for any color. I love to spatter in blacks and whites, so I don't have any black paint out, but if I was going to do something here, I might go back and add some black spattering to it just to create the dimension in the project. But I hope that helps.